Okay, hello all. This is Ralf from down Europe, and today I want to share with you why and how to get started with a local dive community, and why is that so important to me to share that with you, and what are the main causes if you want to run a community by yourself. So the first thing of this is if you're looking into our um, diving and into when you started your diving career, you might experience that we all share the same. Like we go for all out for diving, and we are all out keen to get wet or stay dry in a dry suit. Anyway, we breathe all the same. Okay, apneas don't breathe anyway. It doesn't matter. They also share the ocean or the sea or the lake, and I want to experience the undersea, the underwater, the home underwater, let's say. And you might have also that nice experience when you've been on a dive site and something went wrong and maybe a gear was broken, but it could be quickly solved if there are tools with you. And since you're a beginner, you haven't had that in mind to bring tools there. But next to you, there are other divers, and they see that you have an issue, and they come over to help you, without knowing your name, nothing, but they will help you. So this is what community is like, and this is an important thing to us, especially nowadays. So that said, that this is what matters, that we are all divers, and it does not a matter of our certification level or our certification, the organization who certified you. We can come together in that as a community as well. Okay, it's very nice now. So what is the thing to that local community, and why is that so important? When you start your diving adventure, or when you want to push your diving career, we usually start reading stuffs in websites and using Facebook groups or something like that. But we find it very hard to make decisions upon that readings we can find there, or the contents we can find there. And what can that be? What we're looking for? It is like where to go diving locally to keep diving, or how to take the next step for your career and your diving career, whether it is going professional or taking an advantage about having the next step with technical diving, for instance, or on how to get there. So these things are rumors in all of us, and we all have made that experience by reading groups and forums and all that stuff, asking questions there. And well, sometimes it's okay and you get an okay response, but it's not always the same. Like, so you might say now, well, yes, there is Facebook already and other social media. What is that? The benefit for a local diving community? Well, the first of all is, um, indeed, you're right. There are Facebook groups, and they are big. And it's not very common that you find all the answers in there. And users of social media platforms are experiencing that they don't feel that they can be their most authentic selves. Respect and the feeling to have the allowance to ask a question is often not given. So, why is that? Well, if you haven't tried it out by yourself, try now and ask a very basic question. The answers following may answer your question, but in the most cases, I'm really sure that the content following by your question is not the thing you're looking for. So that means that trust in social media is not that big, and the loss there is a daily thing, which we can experience there. Okay, if not Facebook, there are so many others offering that service like Tauchanet and so on. Yes, but look at that. They are more globally. It is not locally. To get in touch with one of that community is a tough thing, right? It is not so common that you go into one of that groups and then you say, "Hey, I want to go diving at the weekend. Are you here? Are you nearby? Or is somebody nearby?" Or if you start to do that, you may experience that it's not the best idea to do so. Okay, so we do have another thing there. We have that dive clubs out there, right? So the dive clubs with an annual subscription and so on. So on my experience, people are not always willing to get into such clubs with a subscription, and with that meaning that you have to bring in your work and time there, so that the club community is somehow growing and so on. It is not that loose connection you want to have. You want to have maybe a more thing which is suiting your real life. So it is not that you're always a diver, right? You have to work and so on. You maybe have a family, and they are also consuming time. And often a club can be a time consumer as well, and it ends up in stress being there. So this can be. That won't mean that dive clubs are generally a bad idea. That's not the case. I love them, and I'm very happy that we have them around us, because they do a very important job for all of us. They keep the quality of the divers mostly high, and they keep doing spreading the word of diving all over the world. And that's really an important thing. And if that suits you, just go there and please get in touch with them and start your club career there, and bring in the most work you can do there. That's really an important thing. I'm not saying that that's a silly thing, but it's not the point I'm going to. So we have that all communities all around the world. And I'm saying that global communities won't point out getting me in touch to one-on-one in person and bring me again back to my diving site, or to a diving site where I can learn, or where I can show others on how the dive site is going to be dive and so on. That's not the case with the global community, is it? And if you feel you can do now something better for that, I'm sure you can. Um, we can go and start a local community, and it's really not that hard to start with that. You don't need to be a very experienced community leader or something like that. You will develop yourself to that point, and you will also find, from my experience, very very soon buddies who are sharing the same idea with you, and they'll support you for sure. And you should start to connect now. This platform, Scuba.Digital, is the perfect way where you can start to get connected with other divers to start fantastic things. And you should get support from the industry. Why is that? I mean, if we look into what happened in the past 2 years, the industry started several actions to bring their products to the diver. And well, some of that events went well, and some others didn't went so well. So it is a difference if you're near a dive site, like let's say the Mediterranean Sea, or if you're in Austria with the Lake of Attersee, where you have the cold water divers and so on. It is not that common that they are spending time with an event of a industry, of a diving industry there, and share the time then with you there. So They are looking for other ways to come around with an impact to the dive community, and that's your chance to get in. It's not too bad to have an industry leader on the stage and let him speak about his product, because you can ask him then all the questions you've ever wanted to hear. And it is something different if that's a dive center who wants to sell you a product, regarding the fact that the manufacturer or the industry guy will explain the whole product from A to Z at that point, and what's the meaning about all that stuff, right? I guess that's a huge difference in that. So think about being a community leader, organizing events where industry can present themselves to the diving local community and get the benefits out of that. And as I've said, you should involve other supporters for sure. You should share also responsibilities within your community. So get your buddies into that and involve them into that. Once you've started it and you have that first buddy with you, start planning your first event together and think about cool topics you might come up with your first event. And will come later a bit down to what's an event. And then get feedback from your buddies, from your friends in the diving community, what they're interested in, and think about on how can you solve that issue if you want to fulfill their wishes. And what you have to do is, if you want to run a community, you should stay active. So that means keep diving, that's for sure, and stay connected with your community by organizing regular events. In the best case, you find a regular appointment, let's say all 3 weeks or something like that, where the community can count on that you will have something in place to make their needs to come together in person or virtually with other divers. And this is always fun to share. If you cannot share your experience or your the whole thing with somebody else, it is always the half of fun. So starting a community starts with having friends dealing about that with you, and it is also about a platform. So you have to find a platform where you can host your community. For me, I don't want to highlight that too much, but for me, meetup.com is one of the most favorized platforms for running communities with local or virtual events, especially virtual these days, as we are virtually here as well. And it is pretty easy to start that thing with meetup.com. So go there and register yourself and start a meetup. And as you can see here on my screen, it is discovering events. That means it is not enough to just set up your meetup group. You have to have events there. And when you have events there, you got listed here. And what you will also see here is it is pointed towards your location. So for the moment, for me, it points to Munich, where I'm sitting and living. And it shows me the events near to Munich. So this is what a local community is about, having local events which are listed on a platform to the folks by being in a local search, right? So I would expect that a local community will be listed here with their events. The thing is, when you've started that and you've started the first event with that meetups thing, you'll gain meetup group members with your event. And the more event attendees you have, the more members you'll have on your group. So that means the reach will grow, and it depends for sure for the region where you're sitting and located, and what is the common sense there to go to meet within an area around you. I don't know if the lake sites are so close or not. If it is just about talking about diving and sharing experiences with, let's say, travel agencies about for diving, or a liveaboard in the Red Sea or something like that, or the latest dive computer from Sharewater, for instance, and so on and so on. It depends on all that stuff, but it is at least pretty simple, and you can start for free there, which is good as well for me. When you start that thing, you should think about a name which is somehow pointing out that community is local. And it should have in the name what you're looking for, what is your scope. So let's say something like Divers Meetup Munich will say it is about diving and it is located in Munich, right? Something like that can work for you as well. We're on in the industry to think about to sponsor some communities with that, to bring them together under a hood, so that it can be a more shared thing with other meetups. And this is very important. Sharing is caring, and I cannot say that often enough. You have to share with others as well. If there are other communities coming up, go there, talk to them, share your ideas, get ideas from them. Having a good exchange with them will force both to become a better community for all. And that's really one thing I really like in that community thing, that the sharing is not so much being in a hassle with, and you just do that, and it is not like oh no, I can't do that because it is my community, right? It is a community, and you're at the moment the leader, and if you want to bring that to success, share. I recommend you to share. After you find a nice name for your meetup, please do me a favor and then describe your meetup group the best way you can. So that's important for the members when they become a member for you, that you decide what the scope is of your meetup group, right? So think a little while with your body about that, and then find a nice description for this. Well, we've said that the trust is one of the most things that the social media communities don't have anymore that much, and people feel like that they cannot be like themselves there. We should set up something very important. Well, I'm in the IT industry as well, so, and this is very common there. It is not only with open source, it is also with communities very common here. And I want to bring that to the diving communities as well, because this thing is very important for me. The code of conduct. The code of conduct. This is the thing where you can base the trust on your diving community too. And I'm showing here an example, which is the Berlin Code of Conduct, which is translated in many languages already, which I really like. You can just start by copying their code of conduct and then edit it to your needs. Just put the link at the bottom of that code of conduct in your description or in that tab with your meetup, and then you're done. And you should point out there the important things, like what's your meetup about? What will you do? And whom are you addressing to? And what are the things you don't want to see in your meetup, like being unfair to others, being a racist, being unpolite, and on how you will behave when you experience something with that, something like that in your community. And we have to talk about one bad thing. The bad thing about running such communities and doing events with that, or for those communities, is there is a no-show rate, right? We're talking about a free, not paid service, and it is your effort you're bringing in, and you're in the meaning of organizing all that stuff. You have to count that in the most cases 30% of the um, known attendances won't show up. So this is a bad. You have to have that in mind when you're looking for in-person meetups. But let me show you a little bit more about when you think about your first event. I've already said brainstorm about the first topic, which is important. I guess all of you out there will have at least minimum one idea for a topic you want to talk about. Then get a speaker if you don't want to do that by your own. It's okay. You can just host it or organize it. You don't have to be the man or the women on front talking to the folks, right? You can let that be done by others whom are keen to or willing to do so. It's not an issue, right? It's not a bad or so. It is just okay. And then you should schedule the event as early as possible and fill in the right information about all the events. So that means you have to have an introduction, and you have to have an agenda in your event schedule. Name your speaker and put in a short bio of him. And that's it. Then you're set. And then you can share a lot to make sure that your event is going to be recognized by the local community. With the first one, that can be a bit tough, but you'll get more members, and they'll spread out the word of your community as well. So, and then you're done. And it's not really a thing you're looking for digits like, oh man, I have now 1,000 members. Then you're falling back to that global community thing. If you're in, let's say, in a smaller village and not in a big city like Munich, and if you have then account with that area around you of your meetup, let's say about 50 or 60, that's great. If we count that 30% of that 60 won't show up, we're always in a good digits, are we? And so I would say it is not about the digit. You can relax regarding that. If people are coming, all is good. If you do a meetup, or if you start your community nowadays and you want to have your first event, I probably would say that'll be a virtual one, like this scuba dive thing here. So I would propose that you prep yourself a little bit. And why is that so important? The thing is, you have to have a camera on site. Well, for the most, the mobile phone will do it, right? You don't need to have that full professional setup with a HD or 4K camera and set and all that stuff. It is just that you have to go and have a look on a camera, right? And that's it. So use a mobile phone or use a GoPro, and that's it. And the GoPro can do it, like you can connect it to your computer, and that's it. There are lots of free tools and very good tutorials about how to stream your local stuff to the community, like OBS, and you can use also Teams, for instance, or Zoom. And these tools are currently free, and you can make the most out of it by signing an account and invite people to it. And Meetup is prepped for that. So you put in that just the streaming link and it's done. So the community can join. And you should check up your setup first. That means if you're doing that on the very first time, find a buddy and try and error with your setup the first times. It's a bit about lighting. It's a bit about how to set up the camera so that you can speak eye to eye contact, like what are the hints for that and so on. So by let me give you a few basics. If you are running something like that, it is that you have to put the lightings in front of you, and the camera should always be within the height of your eyes, for instance. Why is that? If you are more from the coming from the underway, and the camera is pointing up to you, it looks a bit awkward for me, and I guess for the most attendees as well. So having you in front and the possibility to look into the camera lens and imagine that that one's your eye I'm looking to have a responsive body out there is the best thing. If you have a window next to you, it may be a good idea to close the shutter so that the light from there is not disturbing you and bringing the light most from the wrong side. And that's all for now. If you will invest a little into a lavalier microphone, you're all done. The most of you already have one with your smartphone. Usually comes a earplug and a microphone on it. And that thing is very cheap, but it is a very effective way to have a microphone and the sound in your ear to have the feedback of your community as well. You can listen then to them. So it's really worth to invest into that or use that mobile microphone, for instance. And then you should stream to a media which is known for you or which is very known by the community. And I'm talking about YouTube or Twitch, for instance. Both of them have a very nice streaming area where you can set up an account, and please don't do that 24 hours before you start, because they are running validation rules, which means that you have to have your account more than 24 hours. Otherwise, you can't go for stream. For instance, do that and do your tests and use that platform. You can set up a stream there. You can allow your customers to, or your community attendances to write text messages in the chat. And if you're lucky, somebody is going to manage that text for you, so answering the chat requests and so on. So that's really a nice one. And if you're running that with Twitch or YouTube, doesn't matter, and you enable the record option, it opens the possibility for your community to see the stream later on. And that's also a benefit of virtual meetups like ours today. And I would really like to force you to go there to do something like that. If you do in-person meetups, there are many guides on meetup.com for sure as well. You can find there a big blog on how to do that. And the most of the tips are very, very good. In short, find a host where you can go and have your meetup in person. It can be a restaurant, it can be a dive center, it can be a club center where you can where you have the possibility and equipment for a speaker with a beamer and so on, so that he can set up himself to speak to your audience or your community. And if you're looking for bigger events, it could be a good idea to also set up Eventbrite or something like that account to give out free tickets, which means that the attendee have to register extra, and only if he is owner of a ticket he's valid to be on your meetup. in person, and you have to point that out in your schedule, in your scheduled event as well. So in the description of that event, you have to put in the link for this, for the ticket subscription, so that everybody is able to get one ticket. Have in mind that you have to limit the number of tickets towards the ability of your hosting people. So it doesn't won't be a good idea to have let's say 60 tickets out there if you just have room and space for 20 attendances or participants. So think about that carefully, and that'll make it easier for you then to check them in and so on. Really, Eventbrite is one of the best tools I've ever seen for doing something like that. So you have your mobile app checking in, scanning codes from tickets on their mobile phone so that you can see others. And nowadays, if you do in-person meetups, if you're lucky and you're not experiencing that the digits of the COVID is growing so much, and you find a host doing that for you with all the safety and hygienic concepts needed for that, it's very cool. With Eventbrite, you can ensure that your participants register themselves with all the details you need to have in place to do a contact follow-up if something happens and you need to contact them once more, or the or other one will have to contact them for any reason. Yeah, you have to ensure that the speaker will find everything he needs. So you have to proactive ask him what he wants to see. It is always a good idea to make the things very explicit and not having an implicit, which means he's thinking of something, and in the real world, you don't have like HDMI connectors, and he's going to use a DisplayPort adapter or something like that. Or you're prepped for Mac, and he's coming by and passing by with an HP laptop, and that doesn't suit then, or doesn't fit together. So make everything explicit. Make explicit in your events what you're dealing with. Whom is the target group? What are you showing? Who will speak? Where are you going to? Ensure that your virtual meetup will work with YouTube or Twitch, for instance, and ensure that the in-person meetup can happen. Nowadays, this is very important. I would suggest not to do in-person meetups for the moment, because to me it seems to be very risky, and you can experience being a super spreader event, and that touch won't go away from your meetup. So take care of your community and don't put them to risk. Okay, so I'm almost done. I hope that was a cool thing for you. Sorry for not sharing all the slides with you. I'll do that later on. I've forgotten to switch because we were dealing with technical issues by broadcasting. I'm sorry. Please don't hesitate to contact me. I'll share my contact details with you later in a sec. If you want to start, I'm here to support you, fully support you. You can ask me for speakers, for topics. I will guide you through how to start in an one-on-one session. And if you ask me, I also can do that another time with a deeper dive into that. I can help you by setting up virtual events. I can help you on how to become a better speaker, how to set up my slide deck, where to get graphics from, I have trouble by going to video and so on, and I can help you to get sponsors if you want to have free beer or and pizza, for instance, for your community, which is always a good idea, because free pizza and beer is mostly same like going diving with the community, isn't it? To me, it is somehow. And then I have to say one last thing. Community can't be spelled without you. And that's me. Ralf, I'm from down Europe, and this is my email address, and I'm very happy to support you. And if there are open questions, I have to double check the chat. Okay, we really need. I hope I'm always I'm done now with all that stuff, and I hope it is good for that what we've done so far. Thank you.